Hi Madden School fans, and welcome to the first edition of the Madden School Film Room. I'm Ian with MaddenSchool.com, and I want to run you through today the gun bunch halfback strong formation and just go over a bunch of the different things that we like to do from this formation against all the different defenses. We're kind of going to do a deep dive from this gun bunch halfback strong formation. We're in the Buffalo Bills offensive playbook, but this is found in a couple other offensive playbooks as well. Go ahead and leave that in the written text description on Madden School. We're going to first start with PA bunch shot. We're going to go over a couple different ways to run it. Then we'll move on to verticals, and then we're going to move on to Y trail, inside zone, halfback slip screen. That's going to kind of round out what we're going over in this gun bunch halfback strong formation. And the goal of this is that after we go over all of this, you should have a complete understanding of how to run this playbook, especially this formation, and then you can add it into your scheme. So first, I'm going to go over gun bunch halfback strong. I'm going to go over one way to do it with drag routes. So the first thing to notice here with this formation is we're going to key in on the cornerback on the left side of the screen over our X or square receiver on PlayStation 4. And what you're going to notice here is because of the formation we're in, if they're in a cover 2, that cornerback is going to turn to man-to-man coverage on our X receiver. And that's going to allow us to do some things here that we normally wouldn't really be able to do. So I'll go ahead and show that to you here. Notice that the cornerback follows him and what that allows us to do. So basically what ends up happening, this is a standard cover 2 on defense. I'll show it to you here. A lot of times somebody will do something like this with their defense. But what happens is this cornerback is going to follow our X receiver. And then this guy over here is going to kind of turn into a man-to-man defense if somebody comes from right to left. So that can be our running back or a drag route. I like to do it with our running back, but you can do it with the drag route as well. The thing is that a lot of people like to use one of these two guys in the yellow zones. So he's going to kind of bite down on one of those drag routes. And I'll show to you kind of how that looks here. So again, we're going to put a drag route to our X receiver. We're going to put maybe our RB receiver on a drag route. If we leave the running back into block, that means the middle linebacker there on the left side of the screen in that yellow zone is probably going to cover that RB receiver. So I'll show that to you here. What that's going to do is it's going to leave that B receiver wide open. We're going to lead pass down, and it creates almost an impossible choice for the defense. It's either let that RB receiver catch the ball underneath, or let the B receiver catch the ball for 20 or 25 yards. Make sure when you do make that pass, the lead pass down. I'll show it to you again here. Because you don't want to run into the deep safety, so lead pass directly down, or you can low pass it. I like to lead pass down on that. Now that's only with a 3-man route combination. Now what I like to do, like I mentioned earlier, is put this running back on an out route, then maybe the RB receiver on a slant route or something like that to get him a little bit deeper. So what happens there is that this middle linebacker here is going to follow that Y running back. This guy is going to follow the X receiver, and that's going to allow that RB receiver to get wide open. So I'll show that to you here. You can see just how absolutely wide open he is. And remember, if somebody uses that, then that B receiver is going to be open a little bit deeper. So let's go through it one more time. The basics is you put two guys on drags or a drag and a slant. It kind of doesn't really matter. And that guy will get open. So it's a really good strategy. You kind of have a high-low concept, and this is great against blitzes. So if someone's saying like a 7-man blitz at you, and you have to make a quick read. First, this is going to do a decent job picking it up, and the reads are just really easy. So the next thing we're going to go over with this PA bunch shot play here is against a cover 3, and the audibles, or the hot routes we're going to do against the cover 3. So let's choose a standard cover 3. Now, a lot of times people do with this cover 3 is they're going to do like hard flats or cloud flats. And if they do give away a cover 3 like they're doing here, then what we're going to do is we're going to block everybody, max protect, then put this B receiver on an out route and the RB receiver on a fade route. I sometimes like to leave this X receiver on his deep post. Sometimes you can put him on a drag. The deep post can do a decent job of holding that middle safety there in the middle of the field. If you put him on a drag or an in, it does a better job of having a check down. So what we're going to do is we're going to lead pass all the way out there to the outside. We kind of got hurried there, and you do need a little bit of time to make this play work. So we're going to simulate it with a cloud flats. And you do need a decent strength quarterback, or I should say throw power quarterback. So if you have someone like 86 throw power, not great for this play. But anything over like 91 should do a good job. Now, if these guys don't go into cloud flats or hard flats and they do something like those purple zones, sometimes they'll bump this slot receiver at the line of scrimmage, which we don't necessarily want. That's going to throw off our route. But most people do like to kind of change those purples into light blues. The lead passing has to be fairly precise. You want to get it away from that deep safety and above the cornerback. Another thing you can do is you can put the tight end, if you have a fast tight end, on the fade route, and then leave the RB receiver, put him on like a hitch, and then playmaker him. It's kind of up to you. I do prefer with the RB receiver, if you have a really fast tight end, that you can do that to the tight end. So again, the B receiver on an out route, the RB receiver on a fade route. Then you can do something like put this X receiver on a drag or an in. So you can see you do have that receiver if you want him there. Then you can buy some time if nothing's there. And then one of those two receivers usually kind of bounces off the sideline and then goes to the middle part of the field. Don't be afraid to throw the ball away though with this. You don't want to throw an interception. But if you do read the cover 3 early, what you're going to do from this is something just like this. And you can see if the guy gets bumped early there, and you can kind of look at that right cornerback. Just hit the B receiver on the out route. I'll show that to you again here. Remember, these are only 3-man route combinations. So you can see that our guy got bumped. That means the guy that should be in the flat zone out over there on the right is busy bumping the RB receiver, which means that B receiver is going to be wide open. Alright, so now we're going to move on to a PA bunch shot against a cover 2 defense. I know I showed it to you first with the cover 2 defense. I'm going to show you a different way of doing it, more of a shot play deep. This isn't going to work 100% of the time, but that X receiver will get open a lot of times against a cover 2 if you lead pass correctly. That wasn't necessarily lead pass, but you have to lead pass directly up for that to work. And that's why it's more of a risk. And it won't work against a Tampa 2 with a middle linebacker in the deep blue zone. One thing you can also do, if you want to kind of create a little bit more room, is put this guy in a fade route or something like that, just to open it up a little bit. If you know it's cover 2 beforehand, that can work well. And remember, you still have that RB receiver coming over the middle part of the field. So one thing you can do is something like this. It's going to have a similar effect to the first play I kind of showed you. Which that one didn't really work that well because he got stuck at the line of scrimmage. If our running back gets stuck behind our offensive line, it won't work that well. Most times he won't. He should get out fine. So you can do something like this. And you still have that RB receiver coming across the middle and the post route deep. So let's look against a cover 2. I'm going to get into a cover 4 with the PA bunch shot. So what we're doing with the cover 4 is we're just blocking everybody max protect. You can kind of leave the rest of the receivers on the routes they're on. I like to put the RB receiver on a curl if I know it's cover 4. And then you just wait for that receiver to clear, and you're lead passing away from the safety on the left over the top of the safety on the right. This is kind of an instant one-play touchdown against cover 4. And it will help to kind of look back over our earlier video that we just did, I think last week now, that goes over reading the defense before the snap, because there's some dead giveaways with cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. And then if you know the defense before you snap the ball, then you make the proper hot routes, all from this same play, and you can get a touchdown. So again, for this play, PA bunch shot against the cover 4. All you're doing is max protecting, putting that RB receiver on a curl. I like to roll to the, or slide protect to the right and kind of roll a little bit that way as well. You do also have this B receiver. If you lead pass kind of down to him, he's going to get open. So it kind of creates a choice for anyone using like the middle linebacker. Either cover the B receiver or try to bail deep to cover the X receiver. So with the PA bunch shot play, we went over kind of doing drags or underneath plays, cover 3, cover 2, cover 4. Man-to-man's real easy to beat. I'm not going to go over that necessarily here. You can do slants, drags, deep out routes, anything like that. So now we're going to go over verticals play. So again, still gun bunch, halfback strong. This time the play is called verticals. And we're going to do it here against like a common, let's do it against like a 3-3-5 Tampa 2 or something like that. So what you're going to notice is it's very similar to that first play we went over in PA, bunch halfback shot, but it's a little bit different. So what people are going to start doing eventually is kind of manning up people, maybe cross-manning people. So we want to have the same concept with different guys running the routes, and that's what this does. Now we have the RB receiver on that kind of crossing route instead of the B receiver, and the B receiver is running the drag now instead of him running a little bit deeper. So on the cover 2, very simple. All you're doing is really just reading the left side of the screen. One of the two guys should be open. Just make the correct read. Max protect, put the X receiver on a drag, B receiver on a drag. We are doing this against, like if we're expecting 5, 6, 7 man blitzes, this is a really easy read. You're just reading high-low between the B receiver and the RB receiver. You also can throw to the X receiver sometimes on this drag route as well. If they're really cheating over there to the left, you just take your like 5 yards there. So this is how that should look. So I want to kind of also simulate a user, and since I'm just doing this here by myself, say we put let's put this guy into like we'll put this guy into a man coverage on the B receiver, and then we'll throw this guy into like a QB spy or a blitz or something. So it's kind of simulating the middle linebacker using that B receiver. And so what I'm going to show you here is what that does. I think I accidentally put the B receiver on a whip route instead of a drag route, but the concept does remain the same. So again, I'm going to put this guy here on like something like this from the defense. They're bringing a heavy blitz. They'll probably be using, this guy's probably going to be like in a deep zone or something. So essentially what we're doing here is we're just reading between the B and the RB receiver. The middle linebacker is manned up on the B receiver, which is kind of simulating our opponent using against that B receiver. You can see if he jumps down on that, we just wait for that guy to come across the field and he's going to get wide open. Now if we can do the same thing with the middle linebacker on the RB receiver, so we'll put him there, this guy on a blitz. So we're going to do the same thing here. This time, remember, the middle linebacker's on the RB receiver. And what that does, that allows our B receiver to come in wide open underneath. So it's just an easy 2-man read against any blitz. Now, if your opponent's rushing 3 and dropping 8 into coverage, we have some other plays for that. This isn't necessarily a play to call against a maximum coverage defense. So I also want to go into a pretty overlooked play, which is just the halfback slip screen from this formation. We can call it here just against like any sort of zone, like a cover 3. It doesn't really matter. Only thing it's not really going to work well against is like a man-to-man defense, or someone has a very aware user. Now the user should be so worried about all of the crossing routes and stuff at this point that he's not really worried about our running back going out for a screen pass. And we just get our blockers in front of us, and if you have a good running back, it's an easy 5, 10, 15 yards at times. And what this does just makes your opponent worry about our running back. So most times we are blocking the running back. A lot of times we'll also block the tight end. And if we have a running back slip screen like this, then he has to kind of consciously be aware of the running back as well. Just don't outrun your blockers. But you can see it's 5, 10 yards really easily. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the slip screen. I will now go over the one running play we use from this formation. Again, gun bunch, halfback strong. I like inside zone. Some people prefer read option. It's kind of what you're more comfortable with. You can just do it against random plays because it doesn't really matter. So you have a bunch of different options. You can run it as is, or you can send some guys in motion. You can do something like this, where you send this guy in motion, and then snap it right here, and then you just kind of follow your blockers. You do have a bunch of different options. I think we slapped it just slightly early there. I like to just leave it as is. I don't want any giveaways that it's a run play. You can also motion the tight end if you'd like. That can help as well. But like I said, I generally don't motion anybody unless I really need that extra blocker. If it's like a 3rd and 1 situation and you're just trying to power for that yard anyway, then maybe you motion him. If not, if it's 1st and 10, you don't want to give away that you're running the ball. So you just kind of run it as is. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this inside zone or the read option. On the read option, I like to just give it to the running back every time. But it is important to add that running play into your scheme just so your opponent doesn't pass commit or just drop 100 guys into coverage and just not worry about the run. Now the last play we're going over here in this first episode of the Madden School Film Room is called wide trail. It's another one. It's like PA bunch shot that it has a bunch of different ways to run it. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of those ways. So we'll start here with like a cover 3. A lot of times, like if you get close to the goal line or something, people put these guys in hard flats. So what I like to do with this play is put the B receiver on either an out route or a flat route like that, and the wire triangle receiver on an option route. That's your running back coming out of the backfield. And this is the play we're going to run if our opponent starts dropping everybody into coverage. Obviously we still have the PA bunch shot play that can work well, but this is another play we can run. So all we're doing with this play is basically it's 2 high-low reads. The first read we're making is the B receiver. If he's kind of covered, like last time they were in hard flats, this time they'll be in cloud flats. We throw the B receiver if he's open. If he's covered, that means the RB receiver will be open. I don't know why our guy didn't catch. That was a weird animation. I'll show that to you again here. This is how it should look. And you just take your like 5 to 10 yards with this play. That's just going to force your opponent to be in hard flats every now and then. You can see it again there against the cover 3. Doesn't look like much, but you end up getting like 8 to 10 yards if you do it right. Now, the next thing I'm going to read here is the Y receiver and the A receiver. So what ends up happening here is most people use the middle linebacker. A lot of times they're going to bail deep on the X receiver's post route. If they don't, though, then they're going to either cover the Y receiver or the A receiver. So what's going to end up happening is there's going to be an extra second here where they're going to have to decide between whether to stay with the Y receiver or to cover the A receiver deep. You just choose which one your opponent covers and throw to the other one. It's a really simple concept here. So again, I know the right side's going to be open, but I'm not looking there. You just kind of take a look and then you make your throw. I mean, here the wide receiver is going to be open every time, but it's a lot different when your opponent is user controlling that. A lot of times, though, it will be the wide receiver because he's going to follow the movement with the tight end over the top. Then you just take your like 3 to 5 yards. So what this is going to end up doing, though, is it's going to add to the scheme, and it's going to make your opponent have to start blitzing more because you're doing an empty type situation where you have nobody in the backfield. And then when he starts blitzing, that's when you kind of use the other plays, and that's when you win. Other thing to remember with this play is that if your opponent's in like a cover 2, something like Tampa 2 here is great, you can still do the same thing, because remember, this X receiver, he's going to turn this guy into, I should say, he's going to turn this cornerback here into man-to-man defense. So what I'm going to do here is you can do something like, if you know it's cover 2, put this guy in a deep out route. And you can just do this. If your opponent stays in one of those kind of common Tampa 2 defenses that a lot of people like to do, then you just keep doing this down the field. It's only on the left side it's going to work. You can't do the same thing on the right side. It's because anytime there's only one receiver on the left side of the field, the defense, the cornerback there is going to go into man-to-man coverage. So I'll show that to you here. Like, for example, if we were to motion this running back, I try to do the same exact thing, it's just not going to work. The cornerback is going to jump, but I'll throw the pass here. It'll probably get intercepted. But the point is to see that it won't work if you try that. Well, I mean, it worked there, but a lot of times it won't work. It's because this guy is on the left side of the field that by himself. If you're to motion a guy like this over, a lot of times it won't work. Oh, that's because it was a cover 3. That's why I'll show it to you here. Tampa 2, and I motion a guy over. That makes a lot of sense. I was wondering why it didn't work. So now we're going to Tampa 2 on defense, and we're going to try the same exact thing with the out route. And the cornerback's probably going to jump it here. Some of this could be attributed to Antonio Brown just being really good, one of the best receivers in the game. But the point is you can see that he's no longer in man-to-man coverage if we... Actually, it's easier to tell if I put him on like a slant route. He's no longer going to be in man-to-man coverage once we kind of balance out the offensive formation. We're going to make sure we're in a Tampa 2 on defense. So in this situation, you're going to notice that he doesn't follow the X receiver. He kind of stays where he should. And it's a pretty basic Tampa 2 there. That's what I'm trying to show you. This concept for most of the formation only works because you only have this one guy on this left side of the screen. So again, one of the options is to put the X receiver on an out route. This is going to work against Tampa 2, cover 3. It doesn't really matter because Tampa 2 is the only way to really defend that X receiver on the out route. But against a Tampa 2, you will turn them into a man-to-man coverage. So that's why that's a very versatile play. So I'm going to go over a couple other ways here. So maybe against like a cover 4 or something. You're going to have the exact same setup. And you see that there's reads for every single play. Your first read is always that guy in the flat. You can put him on either an out route or a flat route. That just comes down to a personal preference for you. It will work the same regardless. The out route will get you a little bit more yards, but it's a little bit more risky of a throw. The flat route's an easier read, but you'll kind of suffer maybe 1 or 2 less yards than you would normally get. So the defense were to go into like a hard flat or something. That's when we just squeeze it in there to the corner route. Very simple reads. You're first reading the flat route, corner route combo over here, and then you read between the running back and the tight end. Now, of course, you can do something with this receiver over here as well, and you can do something like that. Remember, this is the wide trail play, so when you mix this in with the PA bunch shot play, which is more of a deep pass play, or the kind of drag version of the PA bunch shot play, you mix it in with the verticals, drags type play, then you throw in the halfback slip screen, the inside zone, wide trail. It's a really hard scheme to defend. So I hope you guys got something out of this little mini breakdown, our first Madden School film room. Make sure to leave a comment. How can we improve? What would you like to see? Because we will be doing these more common, especially heading into Madden 19. So I hope you guys take care, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Madden Film Room.